This is a Wild Game Production podcast.
Hey folks, it's Vince the Evil DM, the podfather of old school gaming here, back with another episode of the Roll for Initiative podcast. That's right, RFI podcast, mini number blah, blah, blah. Anyway, thanks for all the wonderful feedback and the questions. We're going to get right on with the show again. Don't forget to head to iTunes and rate the show so we can get pushed up in the ratings so everybody can see that Roll for Initiative is back, even though it's on my channel only. And everybody likes it that way, right? Yeah. Anyway. Lots of people download. Not many people will write in. So write in. Give me questions. I like answering questions and involving a show around somebody. It helps drive the show a little bit better. But anyway, going through my flip of the book, starting money. Let's talk about coinage and stuff like that. Now, on page, what page do we have here? Page 35. We get the basic equipment, the equipping the character stage, and yada yada, things like that. And each class has its, certain amount of money that it's allowed, or coinage that it's allowed when rolling up your character. So to do that, you look on the chart for cleric, fighter, magic user, thief, and monk, and it depends on which one. A cleric will get 3d6, a fighter gets 5d4, a magic user 2d4, a thief 2d6, and a monk 5d4. To determine the number of gold pieces your character has to start, simply roll the appropriate number of dice, then total the sum, adding the decimal place if necessary. Decimal place, right. Most of these funds will quickly be spent on the cost of staying in the adventure area and acquiring the equipment which we used for adventuring. So why would a fighter get more gold than a cleric? Or why would a cleric and a fighter get more than a magic user? Now, a fighter is a person that is living off the land, so to speak, is just a brute basic fighter with swords. So he needs a little bit more equipment. Now, a magic user is a person that is studying magic. He's normally trapped inside of a tower, maybe trapped inside of a library. You would think this type of person has some type of income for him other than 2d4, because you would get, 20 to 80 gold pieces based on what you roll. Seeing that you're a magic user, and usually during that time, a magic user is someone that can read and write, which is generally going to be someone of an upper class or middle class-ish, up that way around the time, if you're talking about fantasy times. While as a fighter, it would be someone more of a lower class, or someone that's not of noble class. They're generally just a normal average person roaming the countryside for adventure. A cleric also would be someone of brought up stature, obviously by the church. Church is revered, so they would get a little bit more money. But then again, it always comes back to the magic user, who gets only a certain amount of gold. And obviously the monk gets screwed completely because they only get 5 to 20 gold pieces. They don't get any modifier whatsoever. A monk really doesn't need anything, and they really can't use anything, so there's no need for them to have much gold. They don't need it at all. They just basically have this stuff on their back, and they roam the lands trying to right the wrongs or whatever. Now, back to the magic user, 28 gold. I still think a magic user would get more than that. And in my games, I've always given people a certain amount of things when they start the game. Like they get an adventuring kit automatically right off the bat, which includes a bedroll, a torch, a week's worth of rations, and a grappling hook along with some rope. They get a water skin. That's their adventuring kit they get for free. Then I usually will give them anywhere between 200 to 250 gold, around there, regardless of the class, to spend. Because I feel that they should be able to buy a few things. Now, a fighter should have a pretty decent amount of armor on them. While granted, the game is trying to say you shouldn't at the beginning, but Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is a difficult game to play, so you don't want to be walking around with, cloth. You want to be walking around with a pretty decent type of armor, and When looking at the armor plate, yeah, granted you won't get plate to start out, and you probably can afford chainmail with the 50 to 200 gold area. But if you're rolling like most DMs make you do, you might end up with maybe 70 to 100 gold, maybe a little bit more. So you have to decide, do I want to buy all the things I need, including food, and get good armor, or do I want to say, and just go for the armor and hope the best during the adventure? So this is why I give out my kit. So it gives the players a little bit more of a feel for their character and get a little bit more going when they roll up their characters. Now, the monetary system in this game, obviously 10 copper pieces equals 1 silver, 20 silver pieces equal 1 gold, which I've always translated in my game 10 silver pieces equals 1 gold. 2 electrum pieces equal 1 gold, and 1 platinum piece equals 5 gold. I've always done 1 platinum piece equals 10 gold. So there's some minor things that I've changed in my campaign when starting things up. I don't know what you've done in your campaigns, but do you change these systems up, the copper pieces and the silver pieces and the platinum pieces and gold pieces, or do you leave it alone, the book standard, and do you give out the standard amount of gold when your characters are starting up the game? I also like to provide a little bit more than just the list here under the basic supplies. Sometimes I'll have players ask if they want certain things, and I will give them a price for it because sometimes things on this list aren't there. Maybe a player has a certain build in mind, and it's not groundbreaking, but it's something that will make their character a little bit more interesting, and they want to buy it. So why not give it to them? All right, well, tell me how you start your campaigns with the monetary system. And do you change it up? Do you give them different? Do you just go straight by the book? Too damn bad. That's the way it's going to be. Gary wrote it that way, so be it. Praise Gary. So with that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Don't forget to email me and support me at anchor.fm/TheEvilDM. Good night, everybody.